Alright, hope the audio levels are good here. Seems like it is. Alright, welcome back. Sorry I haven't been here for a couple of weeks. Shit's been fucking crazy around my house. Truth be told, I needed a break last week after 2 weeks of absolute fucking haziness. Didn't have COVID or nothing like that, but we did have the wonderful invasion known as fucking bed bugs. So I had to deal with that, on top of helping out a friend of mine who was going through a really nasty divorce. And some other issues that was just kind of throwing me about and around everywhere. So unfortunately, I could not really find the time to stream. We're back now. I kind of forced myself into today, even though I don't really have a plan down. I got like a general concept of what I'm doing today, and I'm just gonna take it as a chill day. So jump in, give it a chat. Hope you enjoy what you see later. It'll be up on YouTube after this, probably within a day. It'll just depend on how long it takes my computer to upload it without shitting itself. So that's been another problem I've been dealing with too. Don't have the money to throw at that, so we're just kind of praying to every god in existence that my computer doesn't shit out at the most random of time. But, hey man, we'll fucking live. Red bird. Red bird. And of course my cat's been super needy lately, so she just wants all the loving. You gonna hop up on the chair? You gonna sit with me? No, you just go sniff. Alright, sniff. If anybody wants the story of what exactly happened, feel free to ask in chat or drop it somewhere and I'll be sure to tell it sometime. But, past that, I will be having to change my schedule here soon, because my schedule at work is changing. I will have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off now instead of the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. My Wednesdays are normally pretty busy, so I'm not sure if I'm gonna stream on that day or if I might pick Tuesday instead. Still kinda on the fence, because honestly I could probably do Monday pretty easy too. All things considered, like, the only thing I have that day is D&D with my cousins. And like, we've been thinking about streaming that for over a year now that I actually have streaming ability. Don't know if my computer can actually hold up with dealing with Discord and streaming at the same time, but I'd like to figure it out at some point. But anyway, to explain what you're seeing here, this is Jack. Anybody who recognizes Jacksepticeye from YouTube, yeehaw, motherfucker. I got myself a Gaelic Gladiator when they came out on YouTube's, and I have this weird aversion to any kind of pop figure-esque thing. Because, I mean, they look cool, and I like them, their designs are really fun, but, unfortunately, the same issue will happen with just about any manufactured anything you get. The paint job is always kind of sketchy, there are parts that are just way off, or just not quite painted all the way, and then there's always seams everywhere, so, I mean, me being me, I was like, you know what, I want them to be a display piece, and really have some fun with this. So, I repainted my Jack. And I mean, like, I fixed up as many seams as I could, and I repainted everything. Including the bell. I decided to try to do a non-metallic metal on the bell, and I will be honest, it was a pain in the ass to do that big of an object, non-metallic metal, and try to get the proper, oh no, it looks like some of it scratched off there. Oh well. And to try to get the proper reflections and whatnot. And like, the bell itself took me at least 15 hours, I think, just going back and forth on all the different parts and filling in all these pieces and trying to remember where those reflections would be and how it would look. Like, for instance, right there on the bell end, or on the inside, like getting that to look like it's reflecting the inside of the bell. It was hard as fuck. Really fun though. And then of course I actually decided to make a full-on display base because I was like, hey, if I'm doing one thing, why not go the whole round? And Oh no, it is a chip off. Well, I'll have to fix that then. But anyway, so here's Jack and Sam, if I remember the character's name right. But I made this display piece as a way to actually kind of have him hanging around in proper nice display area. But what I've been wanting to do to finish this off is to actually make some potato plants, since he has the bag of potatoes with him. I've been wanting to try to sculpt the potato plant to put on the base itself, and I was thinking maybe like 1 or 2 across here, and then maybe 1 or 2 here in the front, because Jack himself is supposed to sit, if I can line up the holes on his feet properly, we're good to go. But give me a moment. It's been a moment since I had to do this. There we are. So Jack himself should sit marginally like that. I do actually have spokes in this thing for where he's supposed to sit. The second spoke for the front back here doesn't always like to fit though. If I have the right spot. I think I do. Yeah. Well, anyway. I'll just kind of fiddle with it until it figures itself out. But anyway, you should sit phenomenally like that. Let me tip him. So that you would see them kind of like this. But yeah, the plan was to try to make potato plants so that I could actually have at least 1 small one here, and then maybe 2 large ones in the back or the mid area. Just to finish off how it looks. So let's see if we can pull this off. That's been a big worry of mine, because I'm not really much of a sculptor. I do small pieces to fill in bits, like I did Sam, and trust me, I can see all the mistakes I made. He's not perfectly round, he's kind of lumpy, but I can manage stuff. I just don't feel super comfortable or confident in this. So I mean, like, that display piece was pretty easy to make. I already knew what I was doing. It was all just the magical illusion of painting that went into that one, really. But anyway, let's fucking go. I'm gonna move Jack over to the side here. So I don't really use Sculpey or anything like that. I've thought about using it for doing like the Amos Burton bust, which unfortunately I'm gonna have to start over again. Long story short, bed bugs had to burn the sketchbook. Yeah, don't want to get into that right now. So anyway, I'm going to be using Milliput for a good chunk of what I plan on doing today. So I've got my Milliput, and I like to have the isopropyl alcohol. The reason for this is you can actually use the isopropyl alcohol to like water it down, and it'll still keep its sticky consistency, and you can fill in cracks and bits, which is actually what I use to fill in issues with miniatures where it's not, well, like where there's some gapping and I can't get it to quite close. You can just use isopropyl alcohol to soften the Milliput until it becomes like a paste, and then just scrape that shit right in there. It is amazing, and I love that trick ever since I learned it. So the other stuff we have to work on today is I've got a couple more Sylvaneth that I picked up from a local shop. He's missing some bits. As you can see right here in his hand, he's actually missing 3 fingers. I had to look up a picture of what he looks like, which, as it turns out, is something more akin to, hold on while I gotta move that over for you guys. Oh, no, wrong one. There we go. That guy. That's not quite the right one, but he's pretty close. It's this guy. And as you can see, he has the full fingers, which this dude is most definitely missing. So my current is that I am going to have to fill in those fingers, or maybe sculpt something else there. I haven't quite come up with what I want to do for that, so I'm kind of in between at the present moment. But I do know I do want to finish their bases, so these already came pre-assembled when I bought them from the shop. Great guys, local. The shop runner's pretty cool. Anytime somebody comes in and is like, hey, I don't want this anymore, they'll sell it to him, and he sells it back at a cheaper price because it's already put together, and you're obviously not going to get all the extra bits because they don't always have them. So, for instance, like his hand missing, I've also got some Mechanicus that I picked up from that guy, and it was missing a couple of pieces and still needed to be fully assembled, but they were there. All I had to do was look up the manual and put it together and try to figure that out, which was fun. I have not painted that piece. I actually haven't even finished the base for that piece. But I also have just kind of put all my Mechanicus aside for the time being. I have actually a lot of them, but I just haven't felt the want or need to work on it. Excuse me, I'm also stupid tired right now, and I cannot figure out how to get myself to wake the fuck up, so... Coffee has already been had. It's just not working. Anyway, so the question is where to start. Because I can work on the tree guys and do the bases, which will take me like maybe 5 minutes. Yeah, I'm lying. Probably about a half an hour because I like to dick around with this stuff a lot. So, we'll start with that, and then we'll try the sculpting, because that's going to be majority of time. Plus, it's going to be a lot of me just futzing and fiddle-farting around, because I don't fucking know. I don't know. I barely know what I'm doing there, so it's going to be a lot of me, like, fumbling for all the shit. So, to start off with bases, most of the time, I actually like to do the base without the character on there, unless it's something like these guys, where the base is so small, you gotta make sure you have enough space for them. But even then, I enjoy building up my bases, so unfortunately having these pre-glued to the base kind of sucks, and I do not want to cut them off because their feet are so goddamn small. So, that's a nope. So what I am going to do is I'm just going to base it around the character, and I kind of like the idea of these three being a set. Like, you see him, you're gonna see them, and vice versa. So I just need to figure out what kind of base I want to go for, and I do know I want to use a nice thick mud. I don't want any thin shit. You're just gonna have to excuse the yawning, it's gonna happen the whole time. So I was thinking, because I need to get more, and I know I have tons of basing stuff, but I love basing so much. So very, very much. But I like to start out with the very, very base texture for the base itself. I'm going to use Sterling Mud. I do plan on getting a Vallejo version of this in a much bigger bottle that will allow me to use more of it, whereas with this stuff I only try to use a small amount at a time. So to fill in the rest of the base, I do have this really fun trick that I learned from a guy on YouTube, where you use coconut fiber as part of your mud, because as you can see here, just on camera, like, you would think that was loose ground if I didn't tell you any different. That's not dirt. That's a coconut shell. Ground to shit. So, we've got those. Careful, it's always dusty. I am going to use... I've kind of been going back and forth on this, whether or not I want to use the gray pumice or the white pumice, because, yes, they're both rough pumice, but if you take a close look at them, they are slightly different. The gray one actually has bigger chunks and bits to it, whereas the white is a little bit more fine. I think I'm going to go ahead and use the gray, because I kind of like the concept of there being some rocks underneath this dirt, and I do have rocks that I can use in there, and I also have tufts and stuff that I can use later when we get more of this set up. I also do have a container of loose rocks. I have some summer undergrowth. I have some plastic plants. Yes, I keep plastic fish tank plants, because they can be helpful too when you want to just put a little bit of pop on there. And honestly, I don't have a 3D printer yet, but one day I will, I promise. Because there's some places that already have like pre-made base pieces and plants and shit that you can just 3D print and bam, there it is, and I want that so bad. Majorly because my need to base. Jesus, I could base all day. If I had enough things to base, I would just base all day. And honestly, that's part of why I want to learn to sculpt, is so that I can actually make some diorama bases that I want to do. If you've never looked them up, there's a set of minis. I don't know if they still sell them, if the maker still sells them. They're called the Carnival. And it was a set of minis meant for a carnival based off of different mythologies. And it's all evil creatures, and I absolutely love it. So there's one that's just a giant jack-o'-lantern, like giant jack-o'-lantern head on this monstrous body, and it's so cool. But I actually want to make a dioramic base of them in the carnival itself. So I wanted to make like a set of cages for the small jack-o'-lanterns, and then like the tents and the caravan that they would have around with their like sign. And I've come up with all of these designs for it. I just don't know how to make it. So it's been getting myself to the point where I could actually make those, or feel confident enough to make them, which eventually I will do here on stream, as long as I'm still streaming. I don't see why I can't share that with everybody, because I'm sure that's going to be a hilarious thing to watch as I fumble and fart my way around trying to make a carnival. But anyway, so I'm going to keep these rocks up on the desk for the time being, because I do like to use them. So there's two different ways that we can do this. As far as gluing stuff down, you can either use super glue, which I always have next to my desk, or you can use a mixture of water and glue. There's a couple other things that you could add into it to make the mixture a little bit stronger. I don't, but you can. A guy called Marco Frassoni on YouTube, really good at that shit. He's got a really great video on how to make your bases practically unbreakable. Like, he literally chucked us across the room and it was fine. And it's all about just covering everything with that glue over top to really keep it in there, and then you just paint over it and bam, you're good to go. And I know there's some people who are just like, oh, I'm just gonna put this texture on there, slap a couple of tufts on it and call it a day, and I'm like, lazy, not even gonna bother shading it or nothing. You're lazy. I can understand doing that though. Keep it simple so you can focus on the minis. Totally get that. I like thinking of them as literally walking out of whatever they're doing, so I like going the full round. Now, I'm not sure I'm going to use too many rocks, and I did pull out some cork pieces, because if I wanted to build something up, cork is a really good way to do that. You just build up where you want it if you don't have something else to use, and just pop your stuff on top, and you're good to go. But, in this case, they're already on the base. Sadness. So I'm not going to do that. What I am going to do is I'm going to go find some tree bark. You might say, Molly, why do you have tree bark? Why do you not? So, this is actually meant for orchids. So if I ever wanted an orchid, I have the stuff to put in the pot straight out the gate, because, you know, I'm weird. But anyway, I like using these for either fallen trees or rocks. They're already organically shaped. You just cover them over with the glue like I talked about and paint that shit, and it looks just like a stone. For instance, I have some setup pieces here. Hold on one moment, please. Like this guy, for instance. This was a test base that I did for some night haunts that I wanted to do. The horse would be here, jumping out of it. This is also why I hate working on mounts, because I kind of spoiled it for myself. But anyway, this part right here, that's actually a piece of wood. Yep, that's just one of the wood chunks I'm about to show you plopped on the base and then painted over. And I put some textures over it so it looked like the rest of what's there. And it gives it such a better look, I think, personally, than just some corkboard. Corkboard can work, again, for building stuff up, but always cover it with something else or have a color over it, because you can make it look like a rock face if you do it right. And it's very easy to do that stuff. So, let me just pull out like a handful of this shit, I guess. And sometimes I will dig through the bag for, like, if I want a specific look, like a fallen tree trunk, I'll look for something that's skinny and thin that I can use. Because I don't really like to cut these up too often if I don't have to. But you get what I mean already. Like, you look at this guy. That looks like straight up a boulder. Pop out on a base and look, it's a boulder. It's super simple. And it takes out so much work. Like trying to sculpt something when you don't need to. Nature did it for me. I'm kind of digging these pieces here. And then this guy, I can pile them up and get a neat look out of them. That one I like, but I don't think I'm going to use right now. These smaller ones, I think I will use, but I want to use them on this one. I kind of just go by feel on this stuff. It's just the easier way to do it for me. There's not always a rhyme or reason for this shit. I am going to go ahead and make my glue mix real quick. So the glue mix itself is PVA, or wood glue. I have little drain cups around here somewhere. Hello, Bert. What's you doing? She said I came over here to sniff. Did you sniff? Were you playing with somebody? You were. Keep this kid. Keep this kid. Alright, so anyway, it's PVA glue and water. It is... Hold on a second. If memory serves, because it's been a minute, it's 1 part water, 2 parts PVA glue. And then if you want it to be a little bit tougher as your reactant, weirdly enough, dish soap. But I don't normally use the dish soap in there. I find that the water and PVA glue helps to soak everything just right enough. But when it comes to actually putting the rock pieces like these on, I am better off using super glue, because they aren't going to want to hold it. But PVA glue will help to cover it afterwards. I just need to find my PVA glue. Alright, I remembered where it was. I moved a lot of shit around lately. And unfortunately, the slight ADHD part of my brain that goes, if it's in a drawer, you're not going to remember where it is. It kicks in a lot. Especially on that kind of stuff. Like, there was... I kind of felt bad because I had some really good basic stuff. And I forgot I had it in the first place. Because I had it in the bottom of a drawer underneath a bunch of other shit. It was all my basic stuff, but it was buried underneath everything else, so obviously I couldn't remember it existed. But now I do. Somewhat. Alright. Literally only gonna put that much water in there, because I don't... Well, we got the bigger base, we might as well just go ahead and... a little bit more in there, and then pop off the cap. And I actually got this one from Geek Gaming Scenics, and that's actually where I got some of my corkboard from too. They're really good for getting this kind of stuff. They sell some shit in bulk. They're really cool. I like their site so far. I haven't really used it a ton, because I like to just buy a whole bunch of shit and then eventually I use it. Because that's just what I do. Alright. Now that I got that mix phenomenally down, I'm gonna put that aside for a minute. And I always have stirring shit pretty fucking close by. I would suggest just go get some like super cheap popsicle sticks. I could snap this one in half if I wanted to. It's good for just having this shit here, and it can also help you get it onto the base without making too much of a mess. Which apparently I'm just gonna be a mess today, so excuse me. Let's go ahead and get the super glue piece down. And then what you can do is actually dip your base into your glue, or specifically set it down in certain areas and then just dip it. Like I've got this container of the coconut fiber. You dip it straight into the fiber and then just shake it off and dust off the parts where you don't want it to stick, and bam, done. Nice and simple. Let's see. Now the only annoying part about these wood chips is sometimes there's a curve in them and they don't want to sit flat against the base, so you kind of have to fill in the gap. That's where having stuff like the Vallejo stuff can come in, because you can put it down and then squish it on top and it will set into it pretty nice and easy. So depending on what look I'm going for or how much of a hard time something's giving me, I might do that instead. And I don't always stay within the parameters, so to speak. I will let something hang over the edge of a base just to make it look even more like I just cut it straight out of a display piece, or cut it out of its current terrain, because it can give a really cool look to stuff that you wouldn't get otherwise. And I mean, if you're worried about packaging and having to leave or send it somewhere else, then yeah, be careful of your parameters. But if that's not really a big worry, fuck it, dude. Why not? Have fun. I need another popsicle stick, because these aren't quite wanting to stick down. So yeah, there's a little bit of a tipsy-turvy to that one. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop down some of the Vallejo. Also, please excuse, there's been a lot of weather changes lately that have been wreaking absolute havoc on my sinuses. So I'm gonna be sniffly, as usual. I actually am seeing an ENT though. I got appointments set up and whatnot, which is part of why I couldn't stream last week. I wound up having to go to the ENT in the morning on a Thursday, but it was like an hour drive away, because that's the only place that I could find that would take new people, not 6 months down the fucking line. Which, if ain't that just the worst part of COVID. But shit does happen. So I'm seeing them. I'll be getting a CAT scan of my sinuses next week, actually. And then, yeah, I'm hoping they'll be able to do something after that. So I explained to her how many freaking sinus medications I take within a week. And she just looked at me like, okay, so normally I'd have to put you on like all these antibiotics, but since you're so messed up and you're already taking all this stuff, I'm pretty sure I can just shove you forward into a CAT scan straight out of bed. And it did. It worked. And thank God for that. So I don't know, maybe in the next year I'll be able to get some kind of a surgery on my sinuses that'll help me not to have sinus infections as often as I do. I'm talking like once every 3 months. Even if I'm careful, I'll still wind up with a sinus infection because the pollen changed and my allergy meds don't want to keep up that day. So actually, that's another part. Very cool, actually. She does allergy stuff there in her office. I didn't think they did all of those in one specific place. Because initially, my last doctor was like, oh, you're gonna have to see an allergist and ENT, and like they sent me to 2 different places. And I didn't wind up seeing either one of them because I was on night shift at the time, and good fucking luck. Playing the phone tag back then was a million times worse than it is now. So, night shifters, I feel you. Trying to get anything done on normal people's schedules is just... it's shit. It's absolute shit. And I know I'm blocking myself in here. Like, painting some of those pieces is going to get a little harder now that I've put these here. But I'm okay with this. Because I don't mind just sneaking a tiny little bit of something in there. So I'm going to go ahead and... yeah, that could be a little bit thicker. Anyway, this is normal for me. I'm not very cleanly when I go to this stuff, so be ready to make a mess. That's half the fun. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and sprinkle some coconut fiber on here because I don't want a ton, I just want a little bit. So I'm gonna literally just kind of find a chunk of the coconut fiber I like and just sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle. And then I just tap the edges and all the extra coconut fiber just kind of falls off. And then I'm gonna brush off the edges here. So I'll be honest, the edges of my bases tend to be a little bit messy because I do this shit, but I don't always want them to have everything everywhere, so it doesn't hurt to just sit there and pick stuff off sometimes too. Which actually I have a set of tweezers for that today. Alright, and now we're just gonna let it sit. Last thing you can do is, once it sets, or if you want to hit it now, hit the top layer with that glue again, so that it'll soak into the fiber and really keep it in place. And that's part of making that base practically fucking invincible. Because it soaks in, and everything just wants to stay afterwards. You're not going to get the same effect out of just using super glue, because you'll still be able to break off the top. So I would highly suggest using this if you want bases that are going to last a very long time. Alright, so we're going to leave that one aside now because we're good with that one. I'm going to do the other small one next. And I definitely want to use this guy. And I'm actually going to get rid of the excess here because I don't think I'm going to use too much more. As far as the big guy goes, I like that boulder piece. I like this boulder piece. Yeah, I'm not going to use you. Might use you. Might use that one too. That's a nope. This one's a yes. That's a nope. That one, no, I want to use it for a different project. And there's a reason I have the tile on top of my desk here right now, because this will be messy. Sculpting's gonna be messy too, so I highly anticipated it and was just like, here, let me cover some shit. These were new. Nah. That one's a yes. That one's a yes. Nope. I like that one better. And so if I had the chance to build these up, I probably would have actually built up the dude and made it look like he was stepping off a hill towards somebody. So he'd probably be angled downwards, but it would get a very cool look. And I am not against pinning legs to get them into different positions, because you can do a lot of fun shit with that. But pre-assembled, I can't really do that at the present moment, because I don't know how to get Citadel glue to come off of something without ripping it. And that is just hella messy. Not really worth it. So, onwards. Where's my cap going? And then a fun part about the cork, when you build something up, you can just go ahead and cover it, like I was talking about earlier, with textures like this one, to make it look like the rest of what's going on. And if you want to do a winter base of some sort, that's a good way to build it up and make it look like someone's standing on top of snow. Put the cork underneath them, pin it to it if you need to, and then put the snow texture on top, and then put your character on there. If you use a pin, you can have the pin sticking out of the snow, and that way you can just drop your character on top of it as soon as he's done. He or she, whatever. He, she, it, let's be honest. All war games go everywhere. But anyway, you can just pin the character's foot, and then as soon as you're done painting them, you can pop it on the base, or if you feel comfortable enough painting it on the base, you can just put them on there off the spot, prime it all together, which I like doing the most, because I find having everything primed gives you that good, like, instead of having to think about it a lot on where the lighting's coming from on the base and how it's going to look with the character, which, I mean, you can do, it's not that hard, but if you want to make it simpler for yourself, have it on the base already, prime everything. If you need to, make sure your character's pinned so you can take them right back off, and that way you can work on them separately and then put them back together, or, you know, whatever's going to work out best for you. So as far as the stones go for this one, and this is why we test it. If you don't like how it looks, whatever. Just pull that shit right back off. I do this one, want this one to have a slight lean look, so I'm gonna go ahead and pile some extra of the texture underneath it, and that way when it hardens, it'll harden to where it's just kind of leaning on it, angled a little bit. Okay, gonna go ahead and do the fiber again. might go ahead and fiber a little bit more here, but it looks like I might need some glue. So I'm gonna just drop some glue in there. And there you have it. And then we'll go ahead and do the glue over top again to get the fiber to stay and not be easy to break off. Because I'll be honest, sometimes when you're using this stuff and you don't do this, you will have it snap. It'll just, like, you'll be brushing it and it'll brush right off. Which actually, if you pay attention during my war song revenant, which you can find on YouTube, during the painting of that, I did have some pieces of the base start to snap off on me. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit the pieces of wood so that it'll soak into the wood itself. And that way these will be a little bit tougher too. It'll take a while for them to dry this way, so a lot of times that's why I'll have my bases pre-done. Because this takes a good chunk of time, and if you're using any textures like a water texture, or the Vallejo stuff, I like to give them a full 24 hours to completely set. You can work with them in about 12. They might be a little bit touchy. Like, you can squish them down if you have a pile up somewhere, even if you didn't mean to. So, as I said, just try to have this shit thought through. If you want to work on it soon, make sure you do the base the day before, just to give yourself some time. So, definitely not going to be painting today. Not these guys, anyway. Alright, so that's that. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and hit these rocks on this one because I forgot to do that on here. And I could be doing this with a brush, but I don't want to chance ruining any of my brushes at the present moment because I don't have any junk brushes, which honestly I need to get, just haven't yet. It's normally something that I would keep around because it makes doing the water effect, like the waves, or directional waves on top of a water effect, like what I did again on the War Song Revenant. It'll make doing that easier if you have a junk brush instead of trying to do it with just your fingers, or some sculpting tools can work. Not really all that bad, but this normally makes it a little bit easier, so just keep it in mind. Plus the brush will be able to get into these small areas without having to pile up too much glue, but this is okay. Alright, round 3. Nice part is, while I'm sculpting, if whatever I'm going to do for his hand to fix that up, if I do, I can let the base set and I can just work on that on the side. I'll just have to be careful where I grab it from. And on this dude, whoever put it on there, didn't get him all the way on. You can see the foot coming up there. So I'm going to go ahead and hit that with some super glue first. Hold on. I have an idea. I can't fully step them up without breaking them off. But since somebody didn't put that foot down, I can't leave the foot. not quite what I wanted, but you know what? This will still look pretty cool. So I'm just going to... I'm going to try to put some super glue on the underside of this. And I am going to cover it with the PVA water mix so that it'll soak into the cork and really hold them down. So just slide that underneath the foot again, right like that. And then I've squeezed some super glue just underneath parts of the foot that I could get under at the present moment, and that seems to be working pretty well. So that'll be it for the super glue for now. Now the question is, how extra do I want to be? Because I could be fully extra and use cork and the stone pieces on the rest of this to make it look like he's stepping out of water towards somebody, which I think would be pretty cool. I'd do more of a swamp-based style look. I think that'd be pretty neat. Alright, let me grab out the cork. So whenever you're using cork to fill in the rest of a terrain, literally what I'm doing here is I'm just leveling out the rest of the base. And what I mean is, to make it easier to do the water pour that we'll do later, I'm going to use the cork on the rest of the base up here and around here to make it look like a riverbank. And then the rest here towards his foot will be just straight water outwards. And then, depending on how extra we want to go here, I can actually go ahead and sculpt some small trees. This is also one of those where I could just run outside and grab a couple of branches, which actually might not be a bad idea. I have a fig tree in the back that I could probably pull some off of. I might run off for a minute here. So, hold on one moment. We're going to finish this first. So, finishing thought, we're going to use this, and I'm just going to tear off pieces. There's really no rhyme or reason to how I'm tearing. I'm just kind of doing what feels right. So, I'm going to just and then piece it together with the rest of this. And this one's kind of bendy, but that's alright. So, I'm going to go ahead and tear here, because I don't want it to overhang too much. So I'm just holding it down and trying to follow the edge with my fingers a bit. Which, it's okay if it's not perfect. Let me grab my super glue again. And we're just gonna super glue along the bottom. Alright. And then we're gonna have to hold it on. And it's okay that there's a small crack in there. I can fill that in with the next round of texture, because we will be putting the texture over the cork. I don't want the ground just to look like this. No offense to it. Not bad, but come on, I can do better. So, I'm just gonna hold that down for here for a minute. Excuse me, sure. Alright. And then to finish in the rest of the terrain, question is, do I leave that like that? Because I kind of dig it. And then we'll just make it an angle that way, maybe. And yeah, no shit, this is how I do most of it. Like, if you thought there was a full plan, there never really is. It's just me fucking around. So this is probably part of why I like this part so much, is it's literally just fuck around and find out. It turns out great or it doesn't, and honestly it's so much more fun that way though. So we're gonna go ahead and tear off this chunk here. So I'm having a thought here. Thought is, if I do this and I have the crack, I can make it look like there's a small waterway giving out here and kind of flowing in towards his foot, and then I can actually angle the water around his foot, which might look pretty cool. I think I would angle it like that. So we'll go ahead and glue the underside. And just hang on to that there for a second. I'm going to tear off a little bit of the excess here on the edge. And if it doesn't entirely want to give, you can pull out a knife. I don't really feel the need for one currently. And then to fill in this spot here, I could probably actually just use this. I also love how much or how organic the process can be when you're making a base like this and you don't really have a full-on plan. Like, I've thought out bases before and like I had a story already in mind, so I planned it all out. And then there's stuff like this where I'm like, make the story as you go. This sounds cool, let's go with that. And honestly, that's part of why I love basing, because you can just slap shit on there. Who's gonna argue with you? And you can tell so many different stories based off of... Stop it. The glue was trying to fall over. You can make up so many different stories and tell so many different stories just with using a base. And I find it so interesting. And it's this wonderful story element that I don't think everybody really thinks about. But then you get some people who go all in, and like actually one of the really cool ones that I saw once was a guy had used a monk box, so it's not a monk box, but kind of it was a frame, and they had a box on the inside of it, and they literally layered up these miniatures from a set into this 3D like artwork. Like an old battlement artwork, and it looked so fucking cool. Like, I'd want to shake that guy's hand, no questions asked. Like, you are my hero. Like, that's just so cool to me. But anyway, back to what I was doing. So next, because I feel like I'm good with the cork here, actually could add, thinking about using just the small pieces to kind of give the waterway a little bit more character, so to speak, a little more texture. So we're going to put that little bit there, and then we're just going to pack the rest of this back into the bag. I'm sure I will find use for it in no time. Put that back up, put it back away. And now we finish off with the texture. So I could switch textures here. The gray pumice will do great for doing the dirt underneath, and honestly, it'll make a pretty good wetland under. So hold on 1 second. I didn't leave myself much room today at all. Get over there. A little bit more. So I can look that back up now that I know what his name is. You know what? Sure, why not? Okay, like how we see here is really thick mud. What I can do is I can use that to start stuff off, and then I can put the sterling mud over top of it to get that smoothed out look. So we'll go ahead and do that, and then we can place some of these rocks and boulders down too. Which, if I had had my way, he'd be stepping on a boulder, so just saying. And I'm not really trying to lay it on thick here, I'm just putting it down. And then I am going to try to get a little bit of it into the in-between there. Because like I did with the War Song Revenant, always start off with your undertones. You'll paint the major colors for the waterway, and then we'll put the water effect over it. If you don't paint everything underneath first, it's not going to come out the same, trust me. It'll be monotone and you can tell the difference because the water effects, even epoxy, it's clear. Even if you tint it with like a blue, you're still going to notice that everything underneath it was pretty much the same color, whereas if you use the different colors like I did on the Revenant, it gives it so much more of that natural look that'll really sell what you're going for. So be willing to put the work into this, guys. It's definitely worth it. Oopsies. Let me cap off my super glue before I get it all messy. And this will actually give me a really nice tone, or start tone, texture for the underside of the water, because it'll help to give it that rigid effect, or look, that if you can see underneath the water, a lot of times you'll see that, like small stones and silt, and a rough pumice can definitely help you get that look. And I mean, the base has this rough texture, all of them do, which not bad for starting, doesn't always translate as well, whereas if you throw something like this on there, and you paint that with like maybe a couple of rocks thrown onto it too, which I'm definitely going to be doing here in a minute, it can really, really sell that look full on. So I'm going to make it look like he's stepping in some soft squishy mud by squishing it up against his toes. And there's the other thing. If you really want to get technical, go into the physics of it. If the ground would move with the character, move the texture around them. Really do everything you can to fully sell the look that you're going for. And eventually, yes, I will be putting this kind of stuff into a competition. I really like to. I just haven't been to any conventions in, like... It's been a long time. I don't even know how long it's been. At least 10 years, I think. Since I went to a convention that wasn't like just a small town convention. So we squish this up against his toes. And then pay attention to the way that you put the river belt down. Or riverbed down, I should say. I don't know why I said belt. Brain. Because whatever water, the direction the water's going in, you want to make sure you're moving the riverbed texture in that direction too. Like for instance, the Warsong Revenant, I dragged it backwards because it made it look like the water was flowing in that direction. It'll help with that illusion too when you set down the water effect later. Just keep that kind of stuff in mind. You do it all willy-nilly, it's gonna look like willy-nilly water. And here's where it doesn't hurt to have some toothpicks. It's getting in between somebody's toes. It's turning out to be a little bit rougher than I thought. I really don't know where to pick this guy up from, because I don't want to break any of the branches, so if I look like I'm being super ginger, there's a reason. So if I break something, I'll be pissed. It's like the one really major downfall of getting something that's pre-assembled is you just kind of have to deal with how the person did it. Like, actually I have a giant spider. A Ragnarok, I think it's called, if I remember it correctly. Goblin Army, because hell yeah, Goblin Army. My brother and I are working on that one, which is why I haven't streamed it yet. But it was semi-pre-assembled, so we got to assemble the rest of it and the stuff that's riding on its back. And, we ended up having to fix some arms on it, because its arms were kind of fucked up. And I mean, like, I'm gonna have to do some extra work on it because it looks that bad. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and try to pile up some around his toes here, like I did back here. Which actually I'm gonna go ahead and finish off his foot first. Okay, and my illusion has begun to set. Alright, so just kind of fiddling around with some bits that I'm like, okay, this could be a little bit better here. Okay, fill that in. Alright, I'm going to clean off this, and I'm going to call this done. Ready. Sometimes I would bother going ahead and filling some of those rocks on with some of this stuff, and I might, but I'm going to put it away for now. Just because I already have enough shit on my desk. And we're going to go ahead and then cover where his foot is up here. Stab it. With some of this glue. And then I'm going to carefully try to put not just the rocks down, but some of the, hopefully this will work the way I hope it does. I'm going to put some of that coconut fiber in these areas. I'm going to have to be very careful, because I don't want it to be everywhere. It's okay if some of it gets into the waterway, like down there, because you expect some of that stuff to get into the waterway because it's near the edges and whatnot, so that's okay. That's not going to ruin anything. Okay, I'm gonna call it done for the coconut fiber. I really don't feel like I'm gonna need any more at the present moment. Okay. As far as the rocks go, I'm gonna cover this coconut fiber real quick. I try to anyway. Okay. Feeling pretty good about that. So now is to figure out what rocks I want on there and why. And I really like this one for a boulder piece. I can either have it there or I can have it in the water. Nah. Not the water. Okay. 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 Okay, so duly noted. PVA glue and texture does not want to work together. I should have put the rocks down first, but I wasn't thinking about that. So the reason I'm pushing into this gap here is actually from experience. When I go ahead and pour in that section, it's going to want to come out over here, which could look pretty cool, but trying to keep that from happening, so I'm just putting a little bit of stuff in there to try to cover up a little bit of that. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of texture in that little spot too. Try to really get that in there. Like that. Now that section's covered. Whereas this side's just fucking fine. Yeah, that's good. What I'm doing right now is just trying to cover the rest of the open cork in the mixture so that it'll harden and I won't have to worry about it breaking off while I'm painting. Just fuck that. Okay. Ah, yeah, still gotta cover the rock. currently I'm just digging around in the stones. This container kind of has a mix of big and little. This one, on the other hand, has all these tiny itty bitty guys, which is gonna look great, especially for this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean that off a little bit first. And then we're just going to pat these down. Just patting the rocks into the texture so that they will harden into it. And I am going to hit the gravel with that too, just because gravel and stones definitely like to come up a lot. And this glue mixture should, one, kind of like thin itself out, it'll move, and as it dries, we'll still have that texture there, because it will dry pretty phenomenally flat. So it'll keep all those stones in place so that when I'm brushing them and painting them, they won't be as likely to just fall off the fucking base, because yes, that is a problem with rocks. If you think it's not, you're wrong. So do yourself a favor. Do this shit. Because even just super gluing these guys down there, if you're going to paint them at all, they're going to want to come up. They're going to go... You're going to put just enough pressure on them, and it doesn't take much. So just pop them right back off that base. And all your wonderful work is just fucked. Okay, turns out I didn't need the sterling mud after all. That's what we're gonna do for those guys. So, plan so far, we're gonna go ahead and paint him like he's coming out of a swampy style area. I might try to find some plant life to put on there to just make it look more like they're around trees, but at the same time, their bases are pretty propagated right now as it is. If anything, he's got some mushroomies growing on him, and I was thinking about throwing some mushrooms onto the base if I can find some, which I had an orc I was working on for a while there. And I didn't finish the trolls with that, which I think had some mushroom pieces to them. So let me go look at those real quick. And then I might actually be just the slightest bit extra and put like a skull or two on the base for funsies. So, one moment, please. Okay, I found the troll I was looking for. And this is why you keep your extra bits. I actually haven't finished that troll yet. I should. So I was having fun with those guys. But I just honestly haven't felt like working on goblins lately. So I've got some extra bits and pieces here. And I haven't done his base either, so honestly I could probably save a little bit of this for his base. Which I think I'll definitely save those guys there, the barnacle looking stuff. But I had a plan for these for his base, so that's a no. This one I will take. If I can find my cutter. Sorry, my cat's playing with something over there and it's just adorable. Distracting and adorable. Yeah, I think the rest of these I'm going to save for the troll. And then there's a few pieces on the arm that I can try to take off. That might work. So, like here, where there's some mushrooms, I can try to cut that off. And then there's one here I can try to cut it off too, but I'll save the barnacle pieces for the actual troll itself. And then this part I can save to put on like a cave wall, because I do actually like making the full caves for them. I'm weird like that, alright? This is my fun time. If you can't tell, I do sincerely enjoy making bases. A little bit too much, since we've been at this for an hour and 46 minutes. And I'm not done yet. Alright, getting this next part off might be a bit of a bitch. Okay. Got that cut free. Okay, easiest way to get this next part up is I'm going to go for that part there in the arm. Is probably going to be cutting around that part of the arm. And just slowly chopping that off, and then I think I'm going to put that there. tool on this one. And just like that, we've incorporated a troll arm into a base. The last thing we can do here is actually go ahead and... What the fuck just fell off of there? Something fell off there. Alright. I'm pretty sure it was my super glue again, wasn't it? I don't see it, but it's down there somewhere. Bastard. Anyway, we're gonna go ahead and cover a little bit of that exposed troll arm with some of the leftover glue, and then we're gonna go ahead and put a little bit of the coconut husk onto that to really incorporate it with the rest of its surroundings. And that way, without seeing this or me telling you, you would have no idea that I put that there. And that it wasn't initially part of the sculpt. And there you have it. I could do some small touch-ups here or there, which you might see me pecking at it, but I feel really good about these right now. So that's kind of nice. So next step, we'll be waiting for these to dry. Once they're dry, I'll be going ahead and well, they do have a base coat, but I'm gonna do another base coat because fuck it. So we'll be doing that. Definitely more base coat needed. And I'm just checking to see how far along the drying process they are, because they look semi-dry. They're not. They're spongy as fuck. I'm gonna go ahead and put some of this stuff away to get it out of the way. So my desk is a mess right now. So I'm gonna clean up for a second. I'll be right back. And that's my super organic process to basic. Okay, so normally you want to put these where they're not going to get fucked with for a while, because again, they do need to dry for at least 12 to 24 hours. I'm gonna go the full round, and before I ever work on them, it's going to be 24 hours because I am paranoid. So there's that. But past that, that's how I normally make a base. I either pre-plan it and have it down before I even go, or we do it like you see here, where you just kind of smack stuff on a base and see what works. So next step would be figuring out what the fuck is supposed to go where his fingers are, if we want to put anything there. Because I mean, it does look like something's missing, no matter what. Like, you look at that hand and it's just, like, glaringly obvious something should be there and it's not. Now, as for this dude's fingers, if we're gonna try to sculpt them, they should look phenomenally like what they do there. Okay, give me one moment. All the extra wood dust is bugging me.
smart. He's smart. What? What you got? She's like, I love him. I got love him. Can I give love him? Not on top of that. Thank you.
Cleaned out underneath my desk lately, so she's having fun climbing around right now. She's exploding. She's exploding. Give me this. Alright, kid. So, the easiest way to do this would be to make the fingers pinnable, so to speak. What I'd be doing is drilling into the hand here, and then actually drilling in right there where the knuckles are, and then sculpting them straight on there, which is probably going to be the easier way to do this. So, if I'm going to do that today, that's definitely up next. The idea here is to, if you don't have one, definitely get yourself a little drill. I do have the drill bits for my rotary tool. I just haven't used them yet. And honestly, I'm not really feeling like trying to hook that up today, because that's pulling stuff out that I did not think about beforehand. So that's not going to happen. So, I mean, the first question is how many fingers are we going to add here? And I'm pretty sure he had 5. It looks like he did. that was getting stuck to my fingers for a second there. Okay, we've made a pretty good size hole there. You don't really need to go too deep. It's just how much support you need for it, to be honest. If you've got like a big creature, like something about his size or bigger, and you need to pin something together, make sure you give yourself enough to actually have enough hold on both ends. Don't just do it from one end to the other. Make sure you go an equal amount into both, if you can. That way they're supported on both ends. Jesus fuck. Sorry, my English has been really bad lately. I don't know if it's migraines or just this horrible amount of fucking brain fog that I have out of nowhere. So in this case, since I'm sculpting something for it, what I'll be doing is I'll be putting the pin in there, like the pin itself is his finger, and then sculpting on top of it. And that's like literally trying to make the bones for his fingers. Because if you're trying to sculpt, I know some of the basics, and that's one of the basics is having a support. So it's like making the bones of the thing that you're trying to sculpt, and then you add filler, or you start adding your clay straight off the bat. It just depends on what you're going for. If you're questioning it, I'm drilling it like that because my hand is locking up. I have this wonderful thing known as carpal tunnel that acts up at random. Fucking never let it stop me from working though. Okay. So now it's just getting my pin. I have some wire that I plan on using for it, which is how I picked the gauge of the drill. So his fingers aren't really all that big. So I will need to find my super glue here for a minute, and I'm pretty sure it fell off the side, so give me one moment. Okay, I'm back. It fell behind my desk. It managed to bounce around and get all the way back there. Huzzah. Alright. I just gotta put that to the side in case we need it again. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pick the first hole that I'm going to work on. I'm going to try to drop some super glue in there. And then I'm going to put the wire inside the finger, and I'm just going to hold it there until it dries. So this could be a moment. And then I'm going to use a pair of pliers to try to shape it if I can get it to stay. If not, then I will pull it back out. Which actually, yeah, I might just go ahead and pull that out. Right about there. Yep. So that's just me trying to help myself out on, like, hey, if I want it to look like this, then I should get it like that. And I think that actually might work better for the middle finger. Yep. Which is okay. And I'm going to make it a little bit shorter than the finger that I think it's going to need, so I can do that taper down like the rest of them. Hey, it sticks to my finger. If I can't get it to stay where I want it to, just with the glue, I can put some milliput in there to try to get it to stay still, which will help to fill in any gap in there too. So, since that doesn't want to stick, that's fine. We'll go ahead and do the milliput here in a minute. Okay, with milliput, if you've never used it before, you've got the white and the blue. And mine's kind of getting a little old because I've had it for over a year now. But you're going to mix an equal part of white and blue unless you want it to be a little bit more pliable in which case you are going to douse the white a little bit. I'm doing it right. It's been a while since I had to do that, and honestly I'm still kind of testing out the milliput. So take this with a grain of salt, give it a shot, see how it goes. So, normally, again, equal parts. Since I want a more rigid structure, I'm going to go ahead and just cut off equal parts here. Or as close to equal parts as I can get. And then this is where it's normally a good idea to have a cup or something of water next to you that you're okay with just dumping your fingers into, which is exactly what I just did, because it'll help it to not stick to you as much. And you are going to get white all over your fingers, so be prepared, this gets pretty messy. And normally you just want to mix this for a good minute or so to make sure that it's fully incorporated, and then be careful, milliput will start to harden pretty fast. Again, if you need to use the trick, isopropyl alcohol will help to keep it a little bit more pliable for a longer period of time, but once the alcohol dries, which, as we all know, in oxygen is still pretty fast, you're going to have to move pretty quick. So only do small parts if you're not going to be able to do quick work. Like, I made a pretty good amount here that I should be able to get the fingers out of, but I am going to have to start moving on it, like, right about now. So I'm going to start with trying to put little bubbles inside the fingers to get the actual fingers in line. So I'm going to start with the one that's next to the pinky. Yep. I'm not dropping everything. And I'm going to start by trying to wrap it around the wire and kind of squishing it, and then I'm going to just grab my buddy here and poke that on into the hole, if I can get it to go in. Pretty big if right now, as it turns out. Oh, hold on. So I'm still putting the super glue in there, and that's more for the wire and the plastic than it is for the epoxy milliput, because honestly that's gonna dry on its own in there, and it should be pretty phenomenally sticky to stay in, but this will help the glue and the wire to just want to meet up and bam it on out. If I can get it in there. Oops. My fingers have ruined me. Nope, still safe. Mr. Mushroom just tried to come out, that's all. Alright, we're good. Oh, my fingers are so sticky already. Okay. This is fine. Okay, so yeah, now it's trying to stick to where it is, which is good, because that's going to help me out with sculpting the actual finger on there, because it's going to be a little bit of a bitch. I kind of wish I had a stand to put this on, which I might find a book or something I can boost this up with, so I can look at it a little bit easier than having to try to lean down all the way over here, which you can't see, but I am like scrunched up like a fucking cartoon character, and my chair doesn't go any lower than this, and I am not moving everything on this desk to make it higher. Just roll these back up in their plastic, shove it back in the box, because for now, we are good. Alright, last part, the pointer finger, which I was thinking about making, since he's got these fingers that kind of look like blades, I was thinking about actually making it look like a serrated edge on the pointer finger, like he uses them as proper weapons. Just a thought. Got this pretty good. Okay. That finger doesn't want to stick. That's okay. We got this. And the no shit bane of my existence, my own cat's fur. Bubby bird. Okie dokie. Keep the crazy glue up here so I don't lose it again. Okay, just cracking my back real quick. Alright, my sculpting tools. I've got some silicone ones that I've beaten the ever-loving shit out of, and I have some proper sculpting tools, which I'm going to grab back here in a second. And I do not see us getting the jack today, unfortunately. One day, I'm going to finish this fucking base. One day. Okay. I'll take it easy on the sculpting tools for this one, because I don't really think I'm gonna need super high detail crazy shit. Because thankfully his fingers are pretty phenomenally flat. So First, I'm going to try to bring this into the actual finger area here, and the middle finger did it pretty good by itself, so we're pretty good there, which is nice. That'll make this a lot easier. The pointer finger, not so much. So I'm just trying to blend it down, and again, cup of water, your friend here. Cat hairs everywhere. That's gonna drive me fucking nuts. Nope. Oh no. So first thing I'm trying to do here is he does have those triangular knuckles, which you can kind of see. If I bring him a little bit closer there, that does help a little bit. And I'm just trying to bleed this up into that.
Nope.
Sorry, just thinking. Be right back.
Hello, Bert. Hello, Bert. What you doing, Bart? She's wet to face ribbon. Yep.
Alright, I'm just letting the fingers sit for a minute since I can't seem to keep them in place. Hopefully gluing it, don't you dare! Gluing it will get it to stay where it needs to be.
Bart. No, Bart. No, 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 no. Kitty butt. Kitty butt. There you go. Don't just sit on the chair anymore. Ah, nope. She ran away. There she go. Go lay down next to me. Yeah, brain scritches. Look at the brain scritches. I know I smell funny right now, don't I? Mm-hmm. I need your milliput to last a little bit longer. It is going to rub away a little bit of it, but you can add some water to it and just roll it around for a second.
and just incorporate the water in there to keep it from drying out on you.
What? What am I doing? What am I doing? She said, I don't know, you're being fucking weird, Molly. Am I being fucking weird? Got you. I got you.
Trying to figure out how to get the fingertips. Just having a hard time figuring out how to shape it right. That's not gonna quite work either. Yeah, alrighty.
Yep, that's what I thought.
Okay. If I try anything else, like adding anything, I keep making things fall off. And I'm kind of happy with how they are at the present moment, as much as that was a total struggle bus of a fucking moment there. Anyway, I'm gonna do what I usually do with the rest of my milliput, probably just turn it into a rock. And we'll try this again later. Or we'll finish this after this is settled in a little bit more. Normally, again, wait time's about 12 hours or so until it's workable again, or until I can work on top of what we got right now. So this is gonna be it for today, guys. Hope you enjoyed at least the base making earlier. I hope you learned something. And we're gonna keep trying this sculpting thing. I may do it on stream, or I might just do it off stream so I can have some other videos up on how to do this shit a little bit better. Cause as you can see, I need fucking help. That's one of those things that I really like to learn. I really feel like at this point I might need to look into actual classes for it, so there's that. Know your limitations, but know when you stop. And right now is about that time, for me anyway. Alright, I'm gonna clean up, everybody. Y'all have a wonderful day. Hope you enjoy this video. Again, it'll be on YouTube within about a day, so long as my computer doesn't shit itself. We'll see how that goes. But, everybody have a wonderful week. If I don't see you next week, or if I don't post next week, it'll be the week after. And we're probably leaning towards Monday or Tuesday being the new stream day, so looking forward to see you guys on a Monday or a Tuesday. A good week to y'all, and we'll see you next time.